Hello and welcome. In this tutorial series, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to rig a character with very basic rig setup using bones. So before you get started, you want to make sure everything's in order, because once you get this thing rigged and you add animations to it, it's going to be harder for you to go back. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure you're going to go on the utilities panel on your character, and then you're going to go ahead and reset the X form and reset selected, because then like that, the scale, the rotation, and the transform are all set to the right orientation and such. So what's the first thing we're going to do? The first thing we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and set up the initial skeletal system. So if you go to create, and then you go right here to systems, you're going to go ahead and create bones. And when it comes to bones, you can always have to create it either in a front, a view, and a side perspective, because if you do it from the perspective view, it's going to give you undesirable results if you try yourself. So how do we start first? Personally, the reason I like bones is because it gives you versatility in terms of to be able to rig a character and choose how you do it. So for me, I always like to start out with a first bone right towards the pelvis, which I'm going to use as the basis for all the movement. So I'm going to go ahead and start right here at the pelvis, and I'm going to click one bone, and what you're going to do is you're going to aim to create a bone for every particular spot of movement or orientation. So I'm going to go ahead and create one there in the pelvis, one towards the middle of the chest, and I usually like to create the places where the vertices cut meet. One right there, one to cover the chest, for example, the neck, and finally the head. So after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and after I create the last one, right click, and it's going to create that additional bone, and you can just go ahead and go there and delete. So the next part I'm going to do is I'm going to do bones that are attached for the arms. So again, bone selected, you have to choose where to go, because as you can see, sometimes when you click, it's going to give you the wrong place. So I'm going to right click, and in this way, I'm going to click here, which seems counterintuitive if I want to have a bone that's connected to the rest of the system. So I click here, and then as you can see here, it brings up a shoulder bone, and I'm going to place it right here where the cut is. I'm going to place it right here again on the elbow, hand, and that last one, delete. Going back to do the same process what I did last time, click on this one, and then as you can see here, again, same location. So try to pick the same relative spot on the other side of the body to click your bone, so it's more or less the same throughout. So you click here, again, elbow, wrist, hand, extra, delete. And then we're going to do it again in the legs. I have an idea it's going to be the same case. You see, if I build it from the bottom one, you have one bone that controls right here, down to the knee, to the ankle, and one for the feet. Go ahead and create one more. Connection point is going to be right here to the center. How far is it? Yeah, that's all right. One to the knee, ankle, and feet, and then right click, delete the other one. I'm going to go ahead and click save. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and now you're going to move all your bones and orientate them in the right orientation that you want, with the exception of the legs, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to go from the back perspective, and I want to go ahead and select, it's not my main bone, that's fine there. Oop, click off bones, because it just kind of wants to keep on doing. So let's say we're going to go right here from this, and I'm going to just rotate a little bit more forward so it's a little bit closer with how the body is shaped. As you can see, this affects the whole body. Take the spine right there, curve it up according to the shape of the body, and then the upper back, take that one, go ahead and go to this perspective, take that one, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off snap right here, because just for more precise movements right there. And finally the head, that's good, good. Hands, look, this arm looks more or less okay, but the forearm could use a little work, so I'm going to go ahead and take that, line that up there. Hands are okay, this one's more or less right, and this one is more or less right as well. That's good, it's good, it's looking good all around. So the next thing is going to be the legs. So the legs, when it comes to that, there's going to be a slight difference and I'm going to show you why, because we're going to add a special handler for the IK handler for the legs that's going to allow you to articulate the legs more accurately. But just for starter's sake, let's go ahead and rotate these bones to the proper position, and I'll teach you guys what to do with that. And as you can see, why is that rotating that? Oh, that's weird. I guess you have to do them individually. Yep, you do. I don't know why. Right to the knee. Ankle, and then the feet could just be a little nub because we don't have much articulation. So you have to think every sort of bone you create is with the idea it's going to be a point of articulation. So for us, since this is just a tutorial, we're just going to go ahead and keep it to the basic stuff that we have. So I'm going to take it here and rotate that more or less with the other one, more or less equal if you can. And less equal if you can. So as you can see now is the part that I have a very, very, very basic skeletal system for this. So now it's the part we're going to try to do the IK handler. So I'm going to go ahead and do save because I'm happy with the position that I'm in. And I'm going to, and let's say, just for the sake of orientation, let's go ahead and create something sphere so we have an idea what's the front, so I know this is going in the right direction. So create a sphere right there. That signifies the front. Yes, it does. Good. So then so I can work a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and take my character, hide it for now, and this is the part that I'm going to be wanting to look at. So whenever you click on this leg right there, which as you can see is attached to the body, yeah? What I'm going to do is I'm going to add IK handler, which is going to allow you to control the leg in a fashion closer to a leg and save you a little more time when it comes to animations. So I'm going to go to animation, IK solvers, and when I go to that, I go to a limb solver, which applies inverse kinematic solver for animating limbs in human characters. The selected bone chain, so click on that, and then quickly that is going to give you a little line. So what you're choosing here is the last bit end of that bone, boom. And then what does it do? You see this little thing right here, a little X, that's what's going to allow you to move the bone in a way that it functions like a regular human leg. Let me see if this one works correctly. And it could be that you do have to do some sort of adjustment when you mess with this, because once you add that handler, then it's kind of hard to do anything with it, because some of the things, as you can see, the legs don't work as much. So that's not quite how I want it, but then again, I don't know. Let's go ahead and try the other one. Animations, IK solvers, limb solver, click to the bottom, click. Did I do it? Yes, there it is. You see again, I say lift, lifts my leg, kind of like a leg would sort of more or less function. So that's good. So now the next step is going to be, I'm going to go to my display, going to unhide all, and I'm going to go ahead and select my mesh and go ahead and delete this one as a guide. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. And I am going to go ahead and add the skin modifier. And the skin modifier is going to be the place where you're going to initiate that to give the weighting to the body and initiate the bones to be able to animate it. So I'm going to show you right now how to do it on a very basic level, so you kind of have an idea. And then the tweaking, that's something that if I have time, I'll make another video and kind of cover that. So I'm going to go ahead and find skin, Duke, and you see here add. It's going to bring up your selection. And what I like to do is I like to hide the display geometry. So this one's off and on, so I don't pick the wrong thing. So then I pick select all and select, good. And now that means that the bones sequence has been initiated. So let's see what that does whenever we apply it to it. It more or less works. So take our first foot. You can see now has some point of articulation, of course. Can kind of give you an idea of what you can do with it. And as you can see, again, a point of articulation. The only thing is when you move this, now you're going to have to move this leg controller based on not the actual position of the leg itself, but more like based on this little controller right here and such. So let's see. See, if you go there, you can't rotate it. You can't rotate it. So if you're going to do movement, for example, with this, that you're going to take to the side like this. then that's something you're going to have to move with that controller. In the same way that if you're going to do some sort of animation where this thing starts to step forward, it's going to be that controller that you use to be able to do the animation with it. So looks like it more or less works correctly and kind of the way that it should. And let's go ahead and get a look at the rest of the body. Hands, arms, select that. You can see now the arm moves, but as you can see right there in the shoulder, we have an issue with the weighting, which at some point you're going to have to adjust when you get the opportunity and the knowledge to do so. And what else? How does the body look? So usually when I go ahead and skin something, I like to go and run through it and make sure that it just basically more or less works like it should, and none of the vertices from the other arms is connected to the body and such, and so nothing is like doing anything funky. So for the most part, this is not too bad, I think. Probably not going to be using that controller much, maybe. Let's see, neck. See, as you can see, there's a tiny bit of weighting issue with the neck. Pull some of the shoulder. That's something we could adjust as well. And see, again, we have some weighting issues that has to be adjusted. See how it looks when I rotate it backwards. That's good to know. Pretty good. It's not 100% perfect, but when you look at the circumstances, it's not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and run with you guys with some other things that you can try, but personally this is more of a preference thing. Like some people, for example, they'll go ahead and add an IK solver on the hands, on the arms right here. I find that it kind of makes it a little hard to get accurate movements with it, but if you want to do that, for example, I go to animation, IK solver, limb solver, click, and then again, like the feet, you have a solver, but as you can tell, it's not perfect because sometimes for some reason the orientation in this program is all wonky and such. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that because I would rather if it just functioned a little bit more easier, like like so. See how this one works? You see that more or less works. And one of the issues that you guys can run into example is that when you add the IK handler, sometimes the orientation isn't correct for your leg that you'd prefer it to. So what do you do when that happens? If that happens, you can undo the IK handler and you can try to take the actual leg itself and rotate it so it fixes or take the bone and rotate it so it fixes on the orientation. So if by some chance when your left goes up, your left leg goes up and the knees is facing in a way that it shouldn't, try go ahead and rotate this main bone right here and then readjust the rest of the position of the leg and then try to apply the IK handler, and if it works again in that orientation, then you can keep that. But that is one of the issues that I can see you guys anticipating because I had it several times before I shot this video. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. This is a very basic raw version or rough version to give you an idea how to do this. And finally, as you can see, since that's my main controller, that's what I'm going to use right there whenever I'm doing animations and such. So as you start to work with it, you start to realize what sort of issues come about. And that's it. I'll go ahead and conclude this one for now. Give it a look. You guys go ahead and try it with the model. And if you have any questions, write to me. We can set up a meeting and we can sort it out. Thank you very much.